Karma's a bitch, isn't it, bunny boy? Imagine that, an episode was leaked early, and it happens to be Fluttershy Leans In. In a sense, it's given me more time to think about analyzing it, and I'm hoping that this means that I'll have an easier time planning out my reviews while still sticking to a weekly schedule. Thank you, Canada, and let's get to it. Angel is practicing for some kind of obstacle competition when he ends up hurting his leg, and when Fluttershy tries to look for a brace for it, she seems to be out. They pay a visit to Dr. Fauna to treat Angel when they discover that animals taken to her care have made a little bit of a habit of overstaying their welcome. Fluttershy comes up with a solution to create a natural sanctuary for the animals, and when she tells the girls about it, they suggest hiring assistants to help her out. Unfortunately, they go against her direction and just go with whatever they personally want, which ends up making everything worse. Can Fluttershy still stay determined and find a way to make everything right? For what it's worth, I really like the pacing of this episode. When you compare it to, say, Rock Solid Friendship, you'll find that it's a lot smoother and very straightforward in comparison. It doesn't get too repetitive, and it takes time to focus on different elements of the story. It also focuses on a pretty interesting concept. Fluttershy has always had a passion for looking after animals, and it's interesting to see that passion being explored from a different angle. It's not just looking after animals in some kind of daycare, it's letting them freely roam about and trust them to be in an environment where they need to cooperate. Unfortunately, a lot of the conflict feels far too typical. These three ponies that are brought in for the job are clearly just there to mess everything up, and they really hammer in with how they dismiss Fluttershy's direction. It's actually kind of cringy just seeing them so obviously going against what she wants, especially knowing that she's more experienced in this field than they are. And just walking away like spoiled brats after they made everything worse certainly doesn't help. As a matter of fact, why were they even brought in to begin with? Considering their attitudes and their occupations, they were clearly unqualified for this job. So why the hell would Rarity, Applejack, and Pinky think they would be helpful? These three don't even make a lasting impression to be considered memorable. They're just characters who come and go for the benefit of the story that the episode is telling. It certainly doesn't utilize them as well as it could have, which would have made their presence more meaningful. But what they do with the other characters is actually pretty cool. I especially love the way Fluttershy is characterized in this episode. She doesn't develop any further than she is right now, and she doesn't really learn anything, but this is a situation where she's not meant to. This is a situation where she needs to properly utilize everything she's learned over the course of the series and incorporate it into solving this particular problem. She expresses a passionate level of initiative towards providing for these animals, and her dedication towards giving them a sanctuary is very impressive. She also stands up for herself and doesn't hesitate when addressing the screw-ups made by those three throwaway characters. She approaches them with a sense of understanding, acknowledging that they worked on something, but she's also very firm in pointing out their poor collaboration skills. It's a real far cry from when she used to allow someone else's insistence to influence her decisions or make her hesitant in being honest about how she felt. She's very determined throughout the episode, but she also shows those familiar hints of socially awkward shyness that just make her so frickin' adorable. And her speeches are very inspired for her too. They may get too typical at times, but they further show how determined she is throughout this conflict and how she's become more confident over the years, mostly due to how her friends helped inspire her. Angel's characterization in this episode is also appropriately downplayed. He certainly acts like a snarky jerkass most of the time, but he's not overly mean-spirited about it. Plus, he seems to actually show appreciation for Fluttershy's company and also presents an overly confident ego with his opening gag. Dr. Fauna is shown to be highly stressed while still maintaining a surprisingly steady sense of patience with her position, which I can appreciate considering where she's currently at. Dash gets a chance to present her more touchy feelings, and the presence of Big Danny McCult is a great callback, and it even plays an important role in the ending. The sanctuary also has a very nice look to it. It has a natural feel to it with a design that seems to fit everything together. The montage of everyone setting it up is pretty nice too, having this relaxed music and a tone that seems to appropriately take its time. and it ends with a rather interesting moral on pursuing your dreams. They don't just happen by believing in them, you have to put effort into working towards them yourself. And the harder you work for it, the greater you'll feel about yourself when they finally become a reality. It's a fairly obvious moral, but it works with the story that it's told, thus making it meaningful and relatable. I'd say that Fluttershy Leans In was a pretty nice episode. It doesn't do much to stand out from other Fluttershy episodes, but it still has a great grasp of her character while providing a good story with much better pacing. It's an episode that I'll surely be seeing again sometime soon. MisAnthro Pony, over and out.